Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting of the Germantown Board of Education to order at 7:25 p.m., and I ask that you join me in standing, if you're able, and to say the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Official meeting notification, Mr. Stouslin.
Yes, public notice of all meetings has been given by communication from the superintendent's office to the public, to those news media who have requested such notices, and to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Northwest Now, Express News, and West Bend Daily News. Public notice has also been posted in schools throughout the district and on the gsdwi.org website, as well as cable access channel 96.
Thank you. Item 2, approval of, roll call, Mr. Barney.
Soderberg.
Here.
Medved.
Here.
Loth.
Here.
Borden.
Here.
I'm here. Reineman.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Item 2, approval of the agenda.
I will move to approve the agenda with an amendment of moving item 5B, the County Line School Report, to following the approval of the agenda.
I will second that.
Thank you. Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to reports and information items, County Line School Report. Mr. Stouslin.
Yes, I'm going to hand this over to Principal Eisenbach, and he will introduce his crew. It's not going to be a flash mob.
And before you start, I will say it's a pleasure to be here at County Line, home of the Comets. It's a long time overdue, so thank you for hosting us.
That was actually going to be my first remark. I want to welcome the board and all of our guests to County Line School. This is probably the first time since March that many of our parents have actually been in the building. So it's nice for them to come, unless they've come for basketball practice, which you can see we still use the facility throughout the week. Although this year has had its challenges, I am glad that we were able to offer in-person as an option, or in-person learning for all of our students. I do have to say that I do not envy the school districts that are just starting to come back right now. That's where we were in September. So again, I do appreciate the fact that we were able to have school. I'm sure these students would attest to it as well. You know, being happy to be in the building this entire time. Even though we are forced to think outside the box on a regular basis for our day-to-day operations, we have been able to provide some of our usual programming, such as our character education, some of our other events, like Read Across America. We've even done the third grade wax museum, where the parents were able to watch it virtually at home, so the students stood in front of the camera to do it. And we've had monthly virtual assemblies as well, so it has been somewhat business as usual with some changes. But one new experience that we'd like to spotlight is what our fourth graders in Mr. Wolger's class had the opportunity to participate in this year. And with that lead-in, I'd like to turn it over to our fourth graders. It looks like Mr. Wolger's going to let them do the presentation. So turn it over to our fourth graders and they can tell you what they've done.
This is cool.
Hello, we are some of the students from Mr. Woger's fourth grade class. We are here to tell you about an exciting learning activity we just finished in science. In December, we started our engineering unit called Motion and Design. We had many design challenges that allowed us to plan, design, create, test, and improve different vehicle models.
As engineering teams, we built our vehicles using K'NEX. We made lunar rovers, different trucks that carried a load, and we even used propellers to move our vehicles.
However, this year we also explored how to create computer-aided designs using Tinkercad. With Tinkercad, we combined 3D shapes like cubes and cylinders to create new models.
This was tricky at first because we had to line up all the shapes on the 3D work plane. We discovered that engineers design most of their prototypes and projects using similar CAD programs.
We started off by making name tags. This got us used to the program. We then created models that interested us, like aerodynamic vehicles, strong buildings, and fun robots.
We even created objects from books we read and projects that represent the Comet Code. like kindness and empathy. Then Mr. Woger explained that our CAD projects could be made with a 3D printer. We could actually see and hold our creations. However, we did not have a 3D printer to use. Okay, so here comes the exciting part. With the help of our parents, family, and community members, our project was funded.
When it arrived, we were all eager to see our first name tag being made. It was amazing to see all the moving parts working together and to see our final print.
We discovered how the printer worked and learned all about the parts involved like filament, print bed, extruder, and the nozzle. We also explored how to use supports, brims, rims, and wraps.
Then we were introduced to the final step, taking out Tinkercad files and slicing them. Slicing is the code language that the printer uses to create a final product. My dad said this is the same process used to design prototypes at Milwaukee Tool, where he works.
Most of us would go home daily and tell our family how interesting and fun our science was. This even inspired some of our parents to purchase a family 3D printer so we could continue to practice our designs at home.
As you can see, we loved our engineering unit. We would like to thank our parents, family, and community members like you for your support. This brings us to the end of our presentation. But before we go, we would also like to share some of our amazing designs with you. We all brought in some samples of our work.
Don't hand them here and I'll stand them down. That's awesome.
That is so cool.
That is very cool.
So then you designed it and then
Oh my gosh. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's cool. I love it.
Oh,
Very
nice.
nice.
That is, I
And
love
that's part of
that.
the comic
Very
code.
nice.
That was
Good
like
job.
Yeah, absolutely.
That almost looks like a Harry Potter stick.
Oh, very good.
Oh,
Excellent.
That's cool.
Nice. Ooh,
another
wow.
Harry Potter fan?
Good job. A lot of thought went into that, didn't it?
I love that.
Very cool.
Be kind.
Hello.
Yeah.
Whose one is it? Harry's.
I got lost there.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Very cool.
Do you mind if I just touch that and see how happy
Can I
I
take a picture of that?
Nice job.
Take a
That
picture.
is very cool.
Wonderful.
Very neat.
Oh, very
For
nice.
sharing.
Good job.
Wow. What's his
Oh,
name?
wow. So you had used like a
Okay.
topographical map to be able to
Right.
get the contour?
That's pretty cool.
Very good.
Neat.
Oh, very nice.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Awesome.
You guys did good work.
That is cool.
Very cool. T-Rex?
I like that. That's pretty
All
neat.
right.
Great job.
Nice. Now remind me the name of this character. Okay. Wow, you got a lot of stuff there.
Fantastic job.
Okay.
So
See.
does the school have
Is that the bat deal?
does the school have a 3D printer or it was borrowed?
Very cool.
Is that going to be your own bakery someday?
Love it. Great job.
Yeah, I love it.
What do you have?
Will it always be here?
That's beautiful.
Very
My
nice.
dad likes that one.
That others created, and I decided to remodel it.
Hey.
Can I see that first time?
Oh, very cool.
Ah, yeah, Harry
I
Potter.
like the colors that you put
Nice.
in. So now,
Thank you.
That design in the house
do
you're
they
doing
have to have a bunch of different plastics?
good.
Or how do you
That's
get the color coordinated?
That's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Is that a
Very
house?
nice.
Works well.
Thanks.
That's wonderful. Good job.
Very nice. Good job.
Is it solid inside or hollow? It's hollow. That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very neat. And what's the other?
This is something that we did in our first science unit. It wasn't really around, but I know it's part of the, it's probably a phone.
Okay, very cool.
So we weren't sure if any of the board members had questions for the students or Mr. Wolger or myself that we can answer on this.
I'll open it up. Mr.
Just
Bryant?
overall comment, this is why I love when we tour the schools, to get presentations like this so that the kids can share what they're learning. And they must love it because they didn't seem at all worried to come and stand in front of us and tell us about it.
I am so proud of all of you guys. You did a fantastic job. It's just awesome to see. So thank you, Mr. Wilger.
Yeah, I think you guys are rock stars. You did a great job. I love the be kind, the empathy. I think that's wonderful. So wonderful job. Thank you. Thanks, kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to stay for a wonderful board meeting, too, if you want to.
So we do have 2 3D printers in the building. One is in Mr. Wolger's room and one is in another 4th grade classroom. But this just goes to show that we don't have to wait until middle school or high school to get into some of this 3D design and actually, making some of the things. So, thank you.
That's cool. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
thank you.
Good job. Good job. Okay, we're on to item 3, citizen comments. No one signed up tonight. Would anybody like to speak? Yeah. Could you come forward and state your name, please?
My name is Jessica Knight. I am a mother of 6 children in the school district. 2 of them graduated last year. The other 4 are in elementary, middle, and the high school. My son Marcus is a senior at the high school. My daughter Alicia is a freshman at the high school. Some of you met Alicia last week and talked to her. I'm here to share a little bit about their experiences in your district, as well as to read a statement from another student within the district that's experienced similar things. I want to point out that those kids that just talked to you see themselves in you, right? They see representation in every single one of you, and they see them within their teachers and the administration in the district. My children do not see that and have never seen that. And that impacts them. It impacts their confidence. In addition to that, when my children come to staff members and share with them things that have happened to them, it's important that my children feel trusted, safe, and respected. And they don't in your district. When my children feel like they need to talk to somebody at your high school, the people that they trust to go to talk to are your janitors, your black janitors. That's the representation that my students have, that my children have within your district. And I'm asking that you take that seriously and that you consider the impact of that to these kids and how that impacts them when they leave your district and they enter into the real world. I'm also asking that you take seriously when it is brought to you that there are incidents at the school, that it's addressed, that there's follow-up with the parents, that there's a defined disciplinary procedure for that you're taking into consideration the curriculum that you're teaching these children. My children have expressed to me that what they learn in terms of black history is Martin Luther King and slavery. And anybody who's had an education outside of high school knows that there's way more to black history than Martin Luther King and slavery. But that's what children that leave your district remember, especially the black children. There are 2 students that couldn't be here tonight. They wanted to read this, or their mother wanted to read this for them. I believe you also spoke to a few of you have spoke to these students as well. So this is from Jennifer McCoon. She's a former special education aide at Amy Bell School. My older daughters attended Amy Bell and are now 9th and 10th graders at GHS. February 23rd, my daughter, Gabrielle Prince White, experienced a racist incident. And from what we can see, not much is being done about it by administration. My daughter has had issues with 2 boys in her band class. One has repeatedly asked her if he can say the N-word. He pretends he's going to say the N-word and has said he will grow up to be a cop, kill black people, and get away with it. Both boys have made fun of police brutality victims and have said that police brutality doesn't exist. She was afraid to let staff know about these incidents because she was afraid of retaliation. This happened in school, not outside of school. On February 23rd, my daughter walked into class and sat down. One of the boys asked her what she thought about the American flag. She shrugged her shoulders and said, "I don't know." He then said to her, "Then you don't care about the people that fought for your freedom." My daughter took this as him directly referring to slavery. He turned to another boy and they started talking about my daughter. Later, one boy stated it wasn't fair that the blacks get a whole month. This upset my daughter and she started swearing and yelling in class. The teacher threw her out of class. The boys were not removed from class. My daughter called me from the office and I spoke with the dean of students. He said my daughter was not in trouble and the boys would be disciplined. The next day I spoke to Mr. Lerner. He told me the boys were being disciplined and that he could not discuss the nature of the discipline. That same day, my daughter received a text from her friend saying the boys were in class and talking about the incident. I left a message for Mr. Lerner and we spoke on Thursday. He said he again could not discuss the nature of the discipline. My issue was the boys obviously felt they could continue this, and I was shocked that they were back in class the next day. I told him I was also upset my daughter was removed from class the day it happened, but the boys were not. He said it was because Mr. Bell heard my daughter swearing and yelling, even though they knew in class why she was swearing and yelling, and they were allowed to stay. If she was removed, they should have been as well. My daughter has not returned to band since the incident and only went to school Thursday, as she was told the incident was handled. She's refusing to go back to school because she feels unsafe. I told Mr. Lerner that my daughter feels unsafe. Friday, my daughter spoke with Mr. Bell, and he told her he was sorry this happened to her, but the boys were not being suspended. My daughter has been panicking and crying on and off ever since finding that out. She's afraid to go to school. I wish I could say it was just the students, but it's staff as well. Both of my daughters transferred out of a teacher's classroom 2 years in a row due to discussions had in a history class. Last year, my daughter Ariana said that the particular teacher asked a black student if he liked grape soda or grape candy. She also said this teacher said she doesn't think calling indigenous people Redskins is a slur because that is what they've always been called. My daughter Gabrielle transferred out of her class this year. She said we cannot demonize, this is again the teacher, we cannot demonize people like Christopher Columbus because their actions were normal for the time, and also said that's the reason why we shouldn't get rid of Confederate statues. She also said white people shouldn't feel guilty because all races did it too. I spoke to Mr. Benz about this, and he said she didn't mean any of this in a bad way. All of the teachers teach the same curriculum, and it was probably just her delivery. If this is what they're teaching, this is the problem. My daughters have seen Blue Lives Matter signs in staff rooms and have overheard teachers calling students ghetto. I'm trying to find another school for my daughters. I feel the administration doesn't do enough to protect black students.
Thank you. And we'll be talking about that later this evening, and we'll be talking about it, and we don't want you to leave, okay? So, anybody else? Good evening and welcome. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Meg, and I am a Germantown High School graduate and a mother of 4 in this district, ages or grades kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 6th. Thank you for hearing me tonight. The first time that I personally experienced racism was in the 4th grade. I had just moved to Germantown. English was my second language, and my accent was apparently a good reason to be bullied. It was that same year that a few boys kept writing the N-word on my bike seat, and after so many times, I just started walking to school. In the 4th grade, my daughter was on a field trip where all the students got to name an island. She would creatively named her island with a combination of Puerto Rico and Germany, which is her background. Later on this field trip, she was pushed by a girl, slipped and fell into the mud. So she went to the chaperone, upset, and he told her to stop acting like her Puerto Rican side. When she asked what that meant, the chaperone followed up with, well, you know, Puerto Ricans are loud and angry. My daughter came home in tears and so confused. Something she was so proud of was taken away from her in that moment. The final response from the school principal was that this parent has many Puerto Rican friends, and therefore they were inclined to believe that he didn't mean anything when he said it. Last week, I heard that from my children, that a boy is bullying my autistic son on the bus. The same child told my son that black people suck and black people are stupid. My son is in 1st grade. This child is in 2nd grade. What kind of words do you think he'll be using in 5th grade or in high school? We received a small tidbit of the transcript from the bus company where my son can be heard saying, "Everybody hates me because I'm black." The other child can also be heard making derogatory remarks about black people. Now, after hearing from the school, I found out that the boy had been spoken with, the parents of the boy had been spoken with, the bus company had been contacted for footage, but I heard nothing. My kids came home and told me what happened. The school knew at 9 o'clock that morning, and it wasn't until I emailed them that I received confirmation that the event had indeed taken place. My family has been part of this community for over 30 years. We were a transracial family of 13 children who were raised to be proud of who we were. So when we were treated poorly, we rose above and we moved on. We should have fought harder for ourselves and for the future that this community would become, for the community that I would end up raising my children in. I thought about letting it go and handling the situation quietly, but after hearing multiple times that the boys' parents had been spoken to, it became clear that that's all that would happen. There would be no consequence in a district of zero tolerance. I'm asking that this district stop simply having the conversation about race, diversity, inclusion, and instead start making change for your students and for this community. Stop saying things like I don't realize or I didn't realize how bad it was, and start acknowledging that your privilege has allowed you to not see how bad it is. It is well past time for action.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome. Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Lisa Filla. I'm just going to read a couple statements that were sent in. This is by Angela Schneider. I would like to speak in favor of the Advisory Board on Equity. It is important that racial injustice and inequity is addressed within our schools and our larger community. It is critical that Germantown schools are a safe place for all students, parents, and staff. Thank you. And this one is by Lynn Carey. Germantown School District must recognize and respond to the racism, radical injustices, and inequities within our school district. It is important so all students are prepared to be productive contributors in our diverse society and world. The work must be forced on the central issue of racial injustice. I highly support the creation of the Advisory Council on Equity. My own experience in this district, obviously I am white, we have a lot of privilege. But to be honest, when we were telling people that we were gonna move here, a lot of people were like, why? There's a lot of racism, and we came from the east side, where there's more diversity. And we're like, well, you know, it's an up and coming community. But really, since my boys are in high school now, and since they've been in school here, I know that somebody spoke to the fact that they learned about Martin Luther King, but every year on MLK Day, if they have school and they come home, we ask them if they talked about MLK. Nope. Not one year since both my boys went through the school district have they talked about MLK. I think and Black History Month. I mean, there's a whole month for Black History Month if you want to narrow it down to just 1 month. The amount of education that our kids get in any kind of diversity other than white history is so dismal and lacking that it's only going to produce children that go out into the world and think that there's nothing else other than them. And my family, we talk a lot about it. I wish the school district did. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
Hi, Melissa Garvis. Last summer, I, along with more than 1,600 other students, alumni, staff, parents, and community members, signed on to a letter asking the Germantown School District to lead by example with a comprehensive equity plan. Small steps were taken, and then the effort was mostly forgotten until a couple of incidents at the high school snapped us all to attention. It turns out ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. The hard realization is that we are failing in our mission to inspire and empower learners because the environment we are providing for our BIPOC students does the exact opposite. I am encouraged by the quick formation of an advisory board on equity, and I look forward to the first meeting later this week. I also look forward to the development and publication of an actual plan with measurable results. In the meantime, I would like to caution you on how you choose to respond this evening. Now is not the time to tell us you have it all figured out because you've had a few conversations. This isn't about one word, one incident, or one missing disciplinary policy. It's also not about kids listening to song lyrics and getting big ideas. as we've heard multiple people in this room theorize over the last few weeks. Meg's son, Omari, the little boy who was told black people suck, deserves better than that. We need you to keep listening. We need you to get to a deeper level of understanding. And we need you to figure out how it is that you are so out of touch with what is going on in our schools that in your own words, you had no idea it was this bad, because that can never be the case again. Mr. Medved asked the question in last Wednesday's ad hoc curriculum meeting. What do we do about things that happen outside of school? It's a good question, and it needs to be addressed. If, as you claim, you don't tolerate racism, does it only apply when people are in our buildings and wink, wink, when you get home, what happens isn't our problem? Is it okay that Germantown High School students had a bonfire last fall of Black Lives Matter yard signs? Is it okay if students post racist things on social media like so many parents in our community do? Clearly, we need to recognize this isn't just a student or a school issue. It's an all of us issue. It's a community issue. Our students are simply following the example set for them by the adults in their world. Community partnerships will be important if we truly want to bring about real, lasting change. Grassroots Germantown is one organization that has stepped up and said they would like to work with the district. As members of this community, we are ready to roll up our sleeves and do the work of making Germantown a more welcoming, equitable community. We hope the district administration and the school board are ready as well.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome. Please state your name.
My name is Kelly Dion, and I thank you guys for listening to all of us. And I'm here to support the women that came before. And I have another comment from somebody who sent in a statement. Dear Superintendent Stouslin and Germantown School Board members, I learned recently of an incident at the high school in which students of color were called racial slur while in school. It angers me that these incidents still occur, and I'm certain that we only hear a small fraction of what is really happening as people are hesitant to speak out. I look to our district and school board to set a stage of not just intolerance for racial injustices, but to take a proactive approach to intentionally making our schools anti-racist environments. I have read of plans to create social justice advisory committee, create a public-facing equity plan, and of the need to create specific disciplinary policy to establish consequences for racist behavior. I commend you for being open to these ideas and implore you to keep moving forward. The vision of the Germantown School District is to be the premier district in Wisconsin. The mission is to empower and to inspire every student to success. Addressing equity and racial justice in our schools will only help us achieve these aspirations. As I look at the GSD beliefs on the district webpage, the idea that all people will be treated with respect is missing. Respect is the foundation upon which we build the trust of our students, our families, and our educators. All people are human beings first and worthy of respect. I'd ask that you consider reviewing our beliefs as a district and make updates as this work continues. My hope for my children is that they not only achieve academic success, but that they also are able to grow up in a community that actively values diversity. Please continue to seek to learn from the diverse voices we have throughout our district, particularly from people of color, about what their experiences have been and where improvements are needed. We have much work to do, and I'm humbly committed to learning and growing as well as we move forward. I ask that you continue to prioritize efforts around social justice and equity to provide the best possible learning environment for each and every student that attends schools in our district. Respectfully, Katie Horrigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? I do have an email that I'd like to read into the record from a Coral Klein. She says, members of the Germantown School District Board of Education, I submit these comments as a community member and as a parent of 2 Germantown School District students. I'm imploring GSD to take action on becoming anti-racist in order to ensure safely for all of its students while they are on campus or participating in GSD-sponsored events. If a student does not feel safe, they cannot be present for learning or fully participate in the school experience. Recent events at JSS have shown that safely is not equitable for all students. It is the responsibility of this Board of Education to take up this issue of real systemic change throughout the district to support students of color and their families, as well as provide teachers and staff training and tools to provide a safe space for everyone. This includes standing up in the face of racism and bigotry to confront students or adults who are promoting these hateful values. This type of endeavor will only be possible with support from this Board of Education and district administration. You set the example for everyone else. Our children are watching you and the kind of example that you will set for our schools and our community. Thank you. Would anybody else like to say anything tonight? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 4, approval of the February 22nd, 2021 Board of Education minutes.
Move to approve the February 22nd Board of Education minutes.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item 5, reports and information item, student representative report. Mr. Stousel.
Yes, Ms. Catalano will give that report.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So at Amy Bell kicked off March with a Spirit Week to celebrate Dr. Seuss and Read Across America. They ended the week on Friday with Google Meet Day, where students wore formal clothes on top and pajamas on the bottom. Finally, their students are gearing up for a variety show in conjunction with the PTA dinner with the arts fundraiser. At County Line, this month, County Line will focus on perseverance. They've not only persevered through all of the challenges that come with the pandemic, but also through the winter months into some warmer weather finally. Additionally, County Line participated in a Dare to Readathon where students can earn prizes and money for their school just by reading. They ended this readathon with a dress up as your favorite book character Spirit Day. At Rockfield, they've had a fun week celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday and Read Across America Day. The school was decorated for the occasion, Spirit Days brightened everyone's day, and the Cat in the Hat even visited classrooms last Friday. This month, they are focusing on gratitude. Rockfield students and staff are grateful for so many things. All staff and students are making a chain of things that they are grateful for that will adorn the cafeterium. This chain will symbolize the amazing school community they have and all things to be grateful for. MacArthur will hold a virtual talent show on March 10th. Good luck to all the acts. They also held a silent auction last week to raise money for their PTA. At Kennedy, students are moving into March with many activities in addition to academic work. The Student Council sponsored a bingo game for staff to show appreciation for all the hard work they have put into delivering both in-person and virtual instruction this year. Drama Club is in full swing with the rehearsal of solos and small groups. The Young Writers Club is meeting virtually to work on plot twists and creative settings, and the Audiovisual Club is continuing their work with Mr. Parrish after school on Thursdays. Spring conferences will be held after school on March 10th and during the day on March 11th, with the Teacher in Service Day scheduled on March 12th. They are all eagerly anticipating continued warm, sunny weather as they head towards spring. And at Germantown, as many of you know, we've had a lot to celebrate this past week. Our girls basketball team won the Division I state tournament, and Jalen Acker set a record for made threes in the state tournament. And the Warhawks made school history with the first girls basketball team to make it to the state tournament. Additionally, Miranda Knabe killed it at the gymnastics meet, earning her second all-around state title. Finally, a celebratory meeting was held on Friday to honor students who were successful in the past semester in different extracurricular activities such as clubs and sports. Germantown does have a lot of talented students. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Questions, comments for Adam? Okay, you're more than welcome to stay if you want, or you can go home and do your studies. Thank you. Item C, high school winter athletics activities update. Mr. Stousel.
Yes, Mrs. Unertl is here and is going to talk about the winter activities and athletics.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me? Okay. I think many of you have seen the co-curricular weekly newsletter and the media outlets, and we just heard from Tatum as well. But we do have a lot to celebrate this winter. Just like the report I gave in the fall, our intent was to participate fully in all winter sports, and we did just that. All winter sports teams competed and had largely successful seasons. Participation was relatively the same as compared to normal years as well. I will share a few examples of some success stories from our winter sports teams. Just like we heard from Tatum, our girls basketball team, we competed in a full schedule at all levels, and we captured the Division I state title for the first time in school history. Many state and school records were set in the process. Also of note is that we were the only team in the Division I state girls games that had their pom and dance team compete at halftime, and we had a student singer for both games sing the national anthem. So it was a whole true school effort all around. Additionally, we had an all-around state champion in gymnastics for the second year in a row, and the co-op team with Menominee Falls placed 4th at the state meet. Also in powerlifting, we had 24 student athletes, the most ever, qualify for the national championship this May. 2 of those 24 athletes broke numerous USA powerlifting state records as well. And on a side note, at some point this spring, this group will be brought forward to see if we could do a paid head and assistant coach stipend, as our coaches have been voluntary since the program began around 5 years ago. Also in wrestling, a sport that I think had the most doubt around it, we had a young sophomore make it to the state meet, and he placed 4th. Many of our activity groups continued their activities virtually, and we had numerous FBLA, DECA, and music and band students qualify for their respective state meets. The play of Peter and the Starcatcher was a huge success as well. And yes, there was limited seating, like our athletic events, but it was well attended, and the performers did a great job. Finally, we had a successful virtual pep rally last Friday where we were able to honor over 100 fall and winter students who broke school records, state records, and state and national qualifiers and champions, as well as all state recipients. Also this winter, we continue to have more student athletes sign their letters of intent and commitment letters to play their sport at the next level. As we move to spring sports, we again are competing fully in all of the WIA offered sports, and we are also moving full speed ahead with all of our activity groups. We also have a new head boys tennis coach this spring and a few new assistants for our softball and track and field programs. Additionally, we do have some interest in adding 2 new activity groups for the 2021-22 school year. One's at the high school, HOSA, which stands for Health Occupation Students of America. Essentially, it's an organization consisting of local chapters and members who are currently enrolled in or associated with health science education programs. So high school students would have the opportunity to do further research, support local healthcare needs through an annual service project, and compete with peers from the state on skills and knowledge of the healthcare field. And the second group, Tatum mentioned this a little bit too, it would be at the middle school level, a Young Writers Club. The group would be for any middle school student who wants to become a strong writer. The Young Writers Club allows students to meet and discuss their writing, share feedback, and learn ways to improve their skills. And this group did a pilot year this year, and again, it was super successful. So to wrap up, as we all know, it's not a normal year, but we're trying to make it as normal as possible in the co-curricular world, and I think we are continuing to surpass expectations. The coaches, families, student athletes, and staff are continuing to respond remarkably well to the challenges that we are all faced with. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I'll just have to say that I went to, I think, the final girls basketball game before they went, where'd they go after that game?
To Kimberly?
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a lot of excitement in the field house. We had people in the stands, a lot going on, and I just want to applaud you and your staff, your team, and everybody involved in that for allowing us to do that, because there are some districts in the state that don't even do sports. And we're one of the few that continue to do that, and quite successfully, so I want to thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item D, CCIHS for pre-calculus report. Mr. Stousland.
Sure, that's Mrs. O'Brien.
Sorry, I screwed that up. So.
Sure. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that we are looking at continuing to add to our high school transcripted credits. And this one happens to be through the UWGB system. And so we have already Calculus 3 through MATC. We have the statistics class through UWGB and also Calculus 1, AB and BC. So this would just be adding to that. A more formal request for approval will come when we work more closely with UWGB to solidify this next transcripted credit.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Mike?
I thought for sure I had Brenda on the CCIHS, and then in the write-up, I see it says college credit in high school. So it was.
So I didn't get you.
It was defined, yeah. So I was kind of a shark, you know, in the water, and then it was defined. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you. Before we move on to the ad hoc curriculum committee, I just want to have one more final information item. It is Happy International Women's Day. Today and every day we recognize the many achievements of women throughout the world and all that they do. I want to recognize our female teachers and staff that go above and beyond to create the many opportunities within the Germantown School District for our nearly 4,000 students to learn. I also want to recognize my colleagues, Sarah and Amanda, on the Board of Education for all that they do in moving forward with the district. Happy International Women's Day, and this year's theme is Choose to Challenge, where we can choose to challenge and call out gender bias, discrimination, and stereotyping. And I'm pleased to say that at Germantown, we do choose to challenge. Of the 12 individuals in our senior leadership roles, 50% of them are women. So I think that's wonderful that we do that. Wish we had some more, and I think we will have some more. So this is very exciting. So again, happy International Women's Day to everyone. Moving on to item 6, ad hoc committee, curriculum committee. Mr. Medved.
Yes, we did meet last week, and we were updated on several items. We'll go through brief updates on all of those items that we discussed. First one is the Germantown Way Learner Profile, something we've been working on. I'll let Ms. O'Brien give the update on that.
Sure, I just want to back up just a little bit and talk about the district initiative is really building a foundation for success within every child. And in that foundation, we have identified 3 essential success factors. So we have teaching students how to learn, teaching students to know themselves, and then also teaching students how to collaborate well with others, as well as having a growth mindset. So those are the essential success factors that are in that foundation. So our, at the end of their years in the Germantown School District, it will culminate with a graduate profile. So a graduate profile is required for the current 8th grade class once they graduate from high school, so starting with the class of 2025. However, we also want to fold into it our district initiative with our 3 essential success factors in the growth mindset into this postgraduate profile plan. And so we will be updating that as we move along into this next summer and into the next school year, and the board will approve that every year, and it would be posted on our website as we continue with that work.
Thank you. The next update was our social justice discussion, and I just want to give a quick update on some of the things that have been going on in the district up until this point and continue to go on going forward. One of the speakers tonight talked about students being able to see themselves, and that's one of the things we have been looking at in our curriculum throughout the K-12, is that we do have the proper material that lets all students be reflected in that material. We believe that that is important, and that is a continuing discussion and action plan that we've put together, and we're not quite done with that yet, but we're getting there, and we will continue to work on that. We're also working on staff development and diversity training, and that will continue as well. We're hopeful that going into the advisory council, we'll have better discipline action coming forward, and hopefully they can assist us in the proper way to do that. We're opening up the discussion, and we really want to move things forward in a positive direction for all of our students. Safety at our school is an utmost priority for the district, for the school board, for everyone in the district, and having all students feel safe is a high priority for me, and it's something we are going to work to make sure that that happens for all of our students, whatever it takes. So I'll move on to the action regarding Advisory Council on Equity, which will be happening later this week. Mr. Stousland, do you have an update on that?
Yes, thank you. At our committee meeting last week, we talked about should this be a board committee or should it be a standalone kind of advisory group, and it was determined that it would stay as a standalone, very similar to CPAC, which is SEPAC, which is our Special Ed Parent Advisory Council. And in modeling this committee after that, at least as a framework until we get started, some of the things and some of the purpose behind this committee would be to strengthen our connection and partnership with parents so that we can better understand and meet the needs of our students and families around equity, provide specific feedback to the district to improve our schools, guide professional development opportunities for staff and families, share resources, and serve as a contact for parents. Also, we hope this committee will advise on needs, bring awareness to issues, help develop action plans, make recommendations, and serve as a resource. Also, the advisory group would be making recommendations to either the Director of Teaching and Learning, myself, or the school board. And the meetings would have a chairperson, note taker, timekeeper, ground rules we could establish at the first meeting, and just determine how we're going to communicate out, how we'll share information for those that want it. If it's email, if it's website, if it's a combination of everything, if it's letters. That's what this group will focus on. And our first meeting is this Wednesday, the 10th. I also like to add that we have an issue. We have an issue in our school, and the good thing is we can do something about it. And talking to, in one conversation last week with about 28 students, they shared some stories, but they also shared, we just want to feel comfortable in our school, and here's some ways, and here's some things that we think would help that. So in a matter of an hour, they were able to share 6 or 7 ideas, and I heard some of them tonight as well. And I know Mr. Soderberg and I met with a couple students, and they expressed some ideas as well. And so I'm hopeful and positive about what this group can do, and any step in the right direction is the right step. And for me, I would think any educator in our buildings want our kids to feel welcome and feel that that's their space as well. So, thank you.
And I'll just say that for the moms that came here tonight, thank you. My eyes are open, my ears are open. I learned a lot last week. And thank you, Brett, for accompanying me to the high school to sit down with the 2 students that were involved in the incident the week before. I learned a lot from those 2 students, and they're wonderful kids. They're rock stars. I learned a lot about what actually happened with the event or the incident, where an N-word was overheard. And it really doesn't matter, and I don't know who mentioned it tonight. It's not about the N-word. It's about creating the environment, the atmosphere where everyone feels comfortable and welcomed. And we're not doing that right now. And I think we all need to look at ourselves in the mirror on what we can do to do a better job and to move forward. Because if our kids don't feel comfortable, they're not going to learn. And we're in the business of teaching kids to learn. And when we sat down with those 2 kids, I asked them, if you were in our shoes, what would you do to make change? And 5 things. And I think we heard about it a lot tonight, which will go into the ACE committee, discipline. I mean, it's not acceptable for the N-word to be said by anyone in our schools. It's not acceptable to treat people the way you want to be treated. We want to, in fact, we're going to be approving some revised board goals later this evening, and we have a what we believe section. And I'll paraphrase. We believe in respecting one another, treating others the way we want to be treated. And in doing the right thing, we value and embrace diversity and believe that we are better because of it. To me, it's very simple. Be nice, be kind. I mean, we saw the 4th graders up here. And there's several that had little signs that said, be kind. be considerate, be nice. And we're not teaching that. And I don't know who mentioned it, it's not just the school district, it's a community effort. I mean, I'm not going to get out of my soapbox again about some websites that you go onto, and you see the comments that the moms and dads are saying. It's wrong. And if the moms and dads are saying it, what do you expect the kids to say? So it starts at home, and it starts in your heart. And we need to start teaching that in our schools. And I know we'll get there. But we talked about our staff is not diverse. We're gonna change that. We're gonna intentionally change that so that our kids see teachers and counselors possibly that look like them. We talked about possibly, and this is from the student that brought this, the two students, about having an assembly. Not a month from now or 2 months from now, but right around the corner, where we bring everybody in and talk to them about what respect is, about what being nice is, about what being considerate is. We talked about curriculum, and I'm pleased that this is one of the action items on the ACE committee. We talked about Black History Month, about going forward that would be student-led, and not just for that 1 month, but throughout the year. A lot of comments that my takeaway, Brett, was black, white, black, white. To me, I don't see anybody who's black, white. We're all the same. And if we start treating people that way, I think we will be the premier school district in the state of Wisconsin. I apologize to the kids too, because no one apologized to them. I apologize to them on behalf of the school board. We have to do better. We will do better. And I commit to that. And I think, Melissa, you mentioned that the items that the tasks that we have to be actionable, and they have to be timely, so that you hold us accountable to that. Because if we don't do it, we're not going to get it done in the four walls of the classroom. So we do need everyone's help with this. It's a community effort, and I agree 100% with that. And again, if our kids aren't comfortable in the classroom, they're not going to learn, and we have to do better than that. So, yeah.
You have to see that we're different. We're not all the same. We're not all the same. You have to be able to see that we are all different. That's how you lead the change, acknowledging that. We can't be afraid of race or disability or kids who have special needs or whatever it is. We have to be able to acknowledge that in a way that is extremely comfortable and forthright. We are different. We don't look the same.
Yep.
Kids don't see themselves up there.
I agree wholeheartedly with your comments, and I've been saying it since I've been on the school board, that every student in this district needs to be treated as an individual and given an individual attention for their needs, for their learning opportunities, their learning struggles. And I think if we can accomplish that, we are the premier district in the state, if not the country. But that's what it's going to take. It's building those connections.
I think what I said too is like to see it, right, that we are different. Like you do see a person of color, you do see a white person, like you do see differences, you do see a gay person, whatever the case may be, and that's okay. Like that's embrace it. Celebrate it. Don't be a burden. Learn.
I agree. I agree. We all see things through different lenses. I see things differently than you see things. But again, if it goes back to what I earlier said, we believe in respecting one another, treating others the way we want to be treated, and doing the right thing. To me, it's that simple. And we just have to drive that to things that are actionable to get things done in our school district. Melissa?
Sorry, I wanted to say something.
I was gonna say like what you said about like massing, you don't see different colors. I was like, being colorblind is not like something to be like proud of. It's like, oh, I don't see like, yeah, we should all be treated the same. Like we should be respected, but like it's good to realize that we are different. We need to learn like the history of like all these different people. Like we can't just all be like I don't know how to explain. Like when we, like, at school, when we, learn about, like, history, all we do is learn about white history. We don't learn about, like, we learned about Native Americans for, like, a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. And that was it. And then we went right back to white history. And right now, we are in the Black History unit, but, like, right now, we're learning about nothing. We're learning about slavery. That's it. We're learning about Emerson. Like, okay, yeah, that was an important thing, but that's all we learn about. We don't learn about this, like, significance of it. We just learn about the bad things. We don't learn about the good things, about the good people that, like, were in Black history. Like, we don't learn about any of that. I feel like that's what needs to change. And in that incident that happened, like, when that person said the N-word, teachers came up and were like, oh, don't say anything because you can get this, like, in just as much trouble as they are. And I feel like, they're like, oh, don't say this, don't say that, because then you can be in that, like, as much trouble as them. And I think that's where it's messed up, because the way that we're, like, putting a racial slur and a swear word on the same level and giving them the same discipline, that's, like, that just shouldn't be right. I feel like saying a racial slur should have a completely different discipline than saying a swear word. Like, that's not even close to the same thing. They should be treated differently. They shouldn't be treated the same. I feel like even if that person were to say a swear word, they shouldn't even be nearly as much trouble as the person that said the N-word. And that person, like what happened with the van issue, that person was literally right behind us, laughing about it, laughing with his friends, saying like, oh, nothing happened. Like, that's where it's messed up. And nothing happens, and he thought everything was okay. And that's everybody in the school. Everybody who said it's okay to be racist. Everybody thinks it's okay to say the N-word, but it's not okay. They think it's okay because nothing happens to them. No consequences happen to them.
Yeah, and thank you very much for sharing that. Again, treating people the way you want to be treated, I think there's nothing but opportunity for us to go down the right path with us. And it's not going to be something, it's not going to be window dressing. We have to do this. We have to do this not 30 days from now. We have to do it yesterday. We should have been doing it yesterday. We're not going to take baby steps either. We're going to move forward with this. We're going to be very aggressive, but most importantly, we're going to be very intentional on what we do, because we have to affect change. Anything else, Brian?
That was it for that meeting. Thank you.
I think do we need to have a motion on this?
No.
No? Okay.
Because it's not a board committee.
Okay, great. And I look forward to the meetings Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else at your committee?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, moving on to item 7, Building Committee.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yes, we do have one actionable item this evening. We are bringing forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to approve the 10-year capital improvement plan as presented with an annual building review, committee review of the plan.
Okay, that's coming to the board with a positive recommendation. Doesn't require a second. Do we have discussion?
I'll just give a little background on this. Our 10-year plan includes our capital improvements, our roofing, our parking lots, our courts for the sports. There's a lot of different things that are maintenance issues over the years, and we're trying to use money that'll go into Fund 46, which will save us money in the long run, but that money will be earmarked specifically for capital improvements in the long run, and it'll help with our state aid funding down the road. So that's the goal of this, and also to have a plan that's a little bit manageable dollars-wise going forward, so that we're not hit, in year 5 with $1 million expense when we've been planning for these expenses that hit us on a regular basis. And it is flexible as well, which is helpful. So that's the reason behind it and why we're moving forward with it.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, a couple of exciting things we approved tonight as well. There's a sign that's going to be presented on the front of the side of the building over at Rockfield that the beautification committee from Rockfield put together a presentation for us, and they actually brought the sign to show us. So that'll be mounted on the building in the near future. Also at the high school, we're moving forward with more background to be presented at a later date for a greenhouse in the courtyard over at the high school. It's an expensive project, but it's a great learning opportunity for our students. So they're going to begin the fundraising, and the first steps of the project are going to be moving forward, and they're going to come back to us with a future plan. Hopefully, someday we'll see a greenhouse in the courtyard, or at least on the grounds of the high school.
All right.
And that's all we discussed tonight.
Questions, comments for Brian? Okay. Moving on to item 8, new business, discussion action to approve ECCP, Start College, now request for fall 2021. Mr. Stoughton.
Yep, I'm going to hand it to Ms. O'Brien.
Sure, there are 3 students who submitted paperwork to take fall classes through the Early College Credit Program, and all have submitted it by the March 1st deadline.
I move to approve the Early College Credit Program request as presented.
I will second.
Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item B, discussion action to approve teacher resignations. Mr. Stousel.
Yep, and Mr. Nowak will present that.
Thank you. Emily Matuska recently submitted her letter of resignation effective March 9th, 2021. Emily was hired in August of 2011 in the Germantown School District as a first grade teacher at County Line Elementary School. And we ask that you approve the resignation of Emily Matuska and thank her for her service to the students, their families, and to the Germantown School District. We also ask that you approve filling of the vacancy. Just a little more background. Emily was a teacher who was out on leave and for her children during COVID. And as part of that process, came to a point where, from a family perspective, this was thought to be in their best interest. So I've had many conversations with her. She's very excited about where she's going to be. As you may note here, that I didn't note posting the position because we currently have a teacher who is filling in that we feel very comfortable. My intention is to bring her forward at our next meeting for the position for the remainder of the year.
Move to approve Emily Matuska's resignation as presented and thank her and wish her the best in her future endeavors.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item C, discussion and possible action regarding back-to-school updates. Mr. Stousel.
Yes, thank you. Just to kind of, last board maybe we didn't really touch on this, but just the comparison, again, of the burden rate in our community, and if you're watching the news at all, you'll see that our numbers across the country as well as around the state and around our area continue to stay low and stabilize, at least as of last week. And you can see the graph. I know you can't read all the numbers, but just so you see, back in November we were at over 2,200 as a burden rate, and now we're at 100, 126. It hasn't been this low since July. So, and for whatever reason, it is this low. So, and it's being reflected in what we're seeing in our district. Today was the first day in exactly 1 month where we had our first case at the high school. So we went 1 month without any positive cases. So that's good. And again, minimal cases at the elementary. Same thing again at middle school, high school. We did have a catch-all day March 3rd, and at the middle school, they had a total of over 200 students attend. 130 were in person, 70 plus joined virtually. The one thing that we're working through, different than first semester, is we've offered busing on those days for students. And now 2 catch-all days in a row, we've had, we just haven't filled the buses or even close. And so we sent 23 buses in the morning for the middle school, had 44 students ride. PM route, 28 buses with 27 students. So similar to the high school, 15 buses, 6 students in the morning, and 23 buses, 6 kids in the afternoon. And so the plan moving forward is figuring out who needs a ride and then not do busing, but look at using our own vans to pick kids up who need the ride. We think it's important that if they want to come in, they need a ride, that they should have it. But I think we can do it with our own vehicles. So, and the high school had, 768 kids connect virtually, and 267 kids came in person for coursework on that day. So, any questions on that?
Do we know how many of our students have failing grades?
I don't know that. I know we have our middle school and high school principals here, but I don't know if they would know that
Off the top of their head. I guess I just want to make sure that these catch-all days are doing what they are doing, right? And that our students aren't failing. We have none that are failing. There's no reason to, right? So, making sure that that's happening.
Yeah, and part of that purpose is teachers, it's a two-way street. Teachers reaching out to kids who need help, and kids are able to say, hey, I need to come in, or I need help. So they're being identified by grades and by missing assignments. That's kind of step one, but then there's other kids who take advantage of it because they just want to do even better. So, Okay.
Brett, thank you for the update. Do you have any updates on there you go, vaccines?
Yeah, vaccines. All of a sudden, there's a flurry of opportunity that opened up last week. We, basically in one day, we got partnered with Freighter, and they took over taking appointments, and they're allowing anybody who has any connection to our school or to schools to get their vaccine. So if it's a volunteer coach, to school board members, to administrators, teachers, support staff, anybody who's connected to our school can register on this site. And from my knowledge, most people are getting in when they're getting an appointment. Also, kind of the week before that, Walgreens opened up and continue to open up slots for people. But it's like I said, it changed in one day. And so I know a lot of people already have their first shot. And so that's positive. The one thing that has started in conversation and with area superintendents really is, what does next fall look like? And that's something we'll continue to keep an eye on. Does it look like it does now? I don't think so, but it's something that we have to make determinations. A lot of the schools are considering having a virtual option, which, again, for some families, that's what they prefer at this time, but we would have to determine what that looks like for us. I don't believe our current elementary model is sustainable moving forward, just for personnel reasons, but I think we can provide options for families, and they'll be different obviously than in person, but I think we can provide some options at all levels. So we're looking into that. And what's next? Again, we continue to monitor things, and we start to think about next year already, is what our plans and what the way things might look like as we start next year.
Okay, thank you. Getting back to the vaccines, I know we can't, it's voluntary, it's not mandatory for our staff.
Correct, voluntary.
And we probably don't have, because of HIPAA, we don't know who's getting it, but do we have a % of staff that is getting it?
Yeah, I don't know. I know when we put one of the initial surveys out of people interested in the vaccine, it was about 85%.
Got it.
So it was like 70, I think it was like 76% people said they were going to get it, and then another group, it was kind of maybe, and there was about 7% no. So I did, and it seems like the CDC and DHS every week have modifications to what it means to get the vaccine as well, from mask wearing to social distancing. So we're keeping our eyes on that too.
No, I know. This morning, I believe CDC just issued guidance in terms of if you're inoculated, it's okay to be indoors without a mask and without social distancing. So it's continues to be a very fluid situation out there. What that looks like in the fall, stay tuned. So, questions or comments for Brett? Okay, moving on to discussion and action to approve revised board goals. Everybody's got a copy of the revised board goals. And I guess before I start, everyone's going to want to know, why are we doing this? Well, we updated this, oh gosh, a year and a half ago, and something got in the way, the pandemic. And we incurred $400,000 in unbudgeted costs for pandemic expenses. And Brittany, where are you? Because of down enrollment for next year, we're going to have an impact of approximately $1.2 million in state revenue. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we felt that we needed to update the goals to reflect the current status, because I'm a firm believer in holding staff accountable, and that's what's reflected in here. And because of what's happening, you know, in our country right now, within our schools right now, I did add a section on what we believe, and you could see that there. And I think that's the right thing to do. The changes are on the metric side. I did remove the comments on Germantown Way because of the last year and a half. We've been 100% focused on pandemic. We could always revisit that and put that back in, which I would want to do. I did, in the enhanced district effectiveness section, we flexed down, or we did some wordsmithing on the fund balance, increased fund balance by a minimum of 0.5% each year, so that we could get that up to our goal of 12%. Revised the comments on the Moody's bond rating to make it maintain an investment grade, which we have an investment grade Moody's bond rating. And we added some new things, research steps associated with launching a K-4 program, research steps associated with launching a virtual academy, and conduct an annual staff and parent engagement survey, and also launch an advisory council on equity. So those are the changes that we made, or that's included in these revised goals for consideration tonight. And I will open that up for comments, discussion. Amanda.
I have a few. When it comes to the Germantown Way, I know we're taking it off for now, but is that more moving on to Brenda's plate when it comes to the Germantown Way profile plan? Is that what, that's what we call it? Okay. And then obviously the ad hoc committee would obviously still be there to help you. Okay, great. And then I would actually like to strike out the word conservative and put traditional in our what we believe.
Okay. Further comments?
Bob?
Yeah.
And I just want people to be clear, though you are striking the Germantown Way, curriculum work is ongoing and happens all the time. And so all through this Germantown Way process, Brenda has been working with the elementary staff in terms of reviewing curriculum. So it isn't that, though it isn't there, these activities have been ongoing, and they just aren't visible or talked about at many of the meetings.
Yep. Further comments or edits? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the Board of Education goals 2020 to 2021 with the change of changing the word conservative under the what we believe to traditional.
Do I have a second? Second. Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Entertain one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:39, and thank you everyone for coming tonight, and please drive home safe.